Hi, everyone. Welcome to our very first Fireside chat. Right now, Calvary Presbyterian Church is temporarily closed, and we're encouraging all of our members and friends to self-quarantine. And so instead of having in-person worship services, we're filming everything. But I really didn't want to film just a regular worship service because I felt like that would feel awkward and strange and probably boring too. So we decided to do this instead, where it's more of an impersonal conversation, although it feels one-sided to me. But we'll see how it goes. And just so you know, Ashley is here with me. She's being super brave in filming this. Do you want to come around and wave to everybody so they know you're here? But everybody else on staff is home and working remotely, and so they are self-quarantining too. And that doesn't mean that we're not available. So if you need us, if you want to call us on the regular church number, we've got it going to people's cell phones, so someone will still answer if you call the church. You can, of course, email us and text us and all of those good things. And I think Ashley's going to post this on the church website, or I know she's going to do that, but I think she's also going to post it places where you can comment and you can share it with your friends if you want to do that. But if we weren't self-quarantining right now, we would be still doing our Lenten sermon series, and this coming Sunday we would be talking about climate change. And like I've said every single Sunday when we have been introducing this sermon series, I've mentioned how we're doing this because we want to highlight different issues that really highlight the brokenness of humanity. And I thought about doing that today and talking about climate change, but I don't know. With everything going on, I really don't feel like we need to talk about another natural disaster, and I don't feel like we need to talk about other things that give us stress and anxiety, because we're already dealing with a situation that for many of us is a first-time thing, and there is a lot of stress and anxiety just going around, and people are feeding off of other people's stress and anxiety, and I just didn't want to contribute to that. So I thought instead we would talk about what's going on right now and talk about it in a very real and honest way, but also at the same time talk about it in a hopeful way. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is when Jesus says in the book of John, there's no greater love for a person to have than to lay down their life for their friend. And I think that that is the perfect verse for what is happening right now. Because when I think about life, it is true that inevitably all of us will pass away. But I think anybody who has lived for any length of time at all and has really experienced life knows that, yes, while there is this big D death that we will all one day experience, there are also a lot of little deaths that people experience along the way. Death of a relationship, death of a job, death of a hope, death of a dream. And right now is a time when I think a lot of us, the majority of us, are experiencing little D deaths all the time. There are people who have lost their jobs or are worried about losing their jobs or are worried about not having enough money to make ends meet. There's people who are worried about a death of normalcy for themselves, for their kids, a death to their social life. All of these things are very real concerns in addition to being worried about contracting this virus and either passing away or having a loved one pass away. So we're all experiencing little deaths. At the same time, a lot of the little deaths that we're experiencing, we're choosing to experience. And we're choosing to experience them because we care so much about other people. And because we don't want other people to contract this virus, we don't want other people to get sick and pass away. And so by choosing to have a small death to your social life for a couple of months so someone else can live, there is no greater love than that. And I think it is such a wonderful thing that so many of us are willing to do that and are willing to self-isolate and are willing to stay indoors because we love and care for other people who we haven't ever even met. So I wanted to mention that I think that that's a positive thing that needs to be celebrated. But going back to a big D death, I have heard some people saying that, well, yes, everyone will eventually die, and so if people die from this virus, so what? And that is, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it, a really disturbing thing for me to hear, and to know that other people are thinking that and feeling that, because while it is true that eventually everyone that we know, including ourselves, will pass away, that is inevitable. And while it is true that as a pastor, you're always struggling with mortality and helping other people struggle with their mortality, I think that every single person deserves to have dignity and respect extended to them. And to hear our Italian brothers and sisters talk about disaster medicine, where they're having to choose who is going to get treatment and who isn't, that's not extending. They're doing what they have to do in the circumstance. But for us to not be willing to help them, that's us not extending dignity and respect to those people that they're having to make those decisions about. And hearing that people are not able to have the funeral that they would normally have, and that people are being laid on top of other people so that one day they can all just be buried together, those people aren't experiencing the dignity and respect that they deserve. And so if me self-quarantining for a while, and for you self-quarantining for a while, and for us encouraging other people to self-quarantine for a while, if all of that allows other people to have dignity and respect extended to them, if it makes space for that, it is 100% worth it. So I just wanted to say that because I feel like that needs to be said. But enough talking about death. This is also a time of resurrection, and I really want us to think about that. Right now, we're early on in this self-quarantining business here in the United States, here in Los Angeles, and so people are still figuring it out, and you might be having a really hard time right now, so you might not be ready for this, but I hope that we do embrace this at some point as an opportunity to have resurrection and to have wholeness and healing. So that list that you have been saving of things that you one day want to do, I hope you start working on that list. If traveling's on that list, then yeah, obviously you can't do that one. But if it's working out a relationship, or saying that thing that you need to say, or having that hard conversation with somebody that you've been putting off, or it's spending time with your kids, or learning to articulate your feelings better. All of those are things that you can do right now, even at a social distance. And I want us to be working on those things and thinking of ways in which we can have resurrection. So those are all my thoughts and feelings. I feel like that was a little rambly, but that's all the things that have been going on in my head right now. And one last thing, my favorite verse of all time has always been, and probably will continue to be, and is right now, Romans 8:38 through 39. And basically what it says is that there is absolutely nothing that can separate us from the love of God, here on this earth or anywhere else. And that's true even of a virus. May God's love and peace and safety and health be extended to you. Amen.